Hi there, this is Stanley
Hello, Tito.
from the Grey Couch.
Coming to you live or not. Today's episode is something we were having a chat over the weekend, and we're like, what? I mean, we're titled it "Resistance is Not Futile," right? I think it's from Star Wars.
No, it's from Star Trek.
Ah,
I
okay.
apologize, fans. Our training is not yet complete. I'm still working on it.
Sorry. But I mean, the concept is, how do you guard against interference, right? And interference being from family, external interference, I guess is what we're talking about. So that could come from different angles. Family, friends, work. Right? Anything that could interfere with outcomes, right? In a marital relationship.
With negative outcomes, right? I mean, interference.
Well, non-desirable.
Okay.
They may not be negative.
Negative, non-desirable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just may not be your goal for that particular season, but that's not to say it's a bad thing, right?
Okay.
It's just it's not aligning. And when you talk about friends, right? There are sometimes you get married and the seasons of life makes some friends fall off the radar, right? And it's just not working. I mean, many friendships survive it, but it so happens that we could lose friends along the way, or if you move, you kind of leave a job, right? There are certain things that don't have as much impact. But the question of family, I think, has the greatest impact, because you can't leave your family. Your family is
Forever?
forever.
Like diamonds.
Yeah, and so that could be one of the biggest impacts.
And I also think that, since you've been with your family longer than you've been with friends, work, and the likes, they also have more of an influence on you, So the tendency for them to be able to ruffle the pot is higher, in my opinion.
And you're saying that because you're only in the mid-season of marriage. What about people who have been married for longer than they are?
By that time, they become the instigators. They become the instigators,
I guess,
in their own kids' family.
I guess.
But for early, for mid, you've been married shorter than you've been with your family.
That much is true. Right? Except you're talking about, I don't know, teen brides. But when we talk about the impact of family, though, right, the ways that I see it is, there are situations where no matter what you do, your family may not like your partner, right? It's just like nothing your partner does is good enough. Or it could actually be that, they want to love you like the way that they love their own child, but you, as a result of your own upbringing or whatever, feels like that is I don't want to say overbearing, because that's not what it is. Like, more like you feel stifled, like you need a little bit of space, and they see that as rejection, right? So there could be those types of impact, as it were.
In that they want you to try and change. How do you mean stifling?
So stifling is, I'm not sure. Word. Yeah, that's why I said it's not stifling in that sense, but it's like, if the person is not used to all those like expressions of what the family considers love, and they are like, a little space, right? That may be seen as a rejection of family traditions, family ways of being, right? In that sense, and so that could breed some tension or resentment, which always kind of comes back to the people that are, in the relationship together, right? And the discussion we're having that led to this episode was centered around the scripture, right? The scripture of a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh, right? So this scripture was a problem because hello. Tell the story.
At our wedding, certain familial features, specifically speaking, my dad kept harping about this verse. That what exactly are we trying to tell him with this verse? Because we have put it in the wedding program. And for this man shall leave father and mother and cleave. And they're like, what are we exactly trying to tell him? That does he no longer have? Not that does he no longer have access to us, but really, I mean, where are we going? Would we be able to reach? And he kept asking over and over, and he said it in jest. Yes, he said it in jest.
But the culture.
We're like, okay.
Our culture says when people tell you the truth, right, in jest, like they'll tell you things that are serious, but you kind of make it like a joke. So it was
and it behooves you to pay attention to that particular joke. So yeah,
like okay,
that was interesting.
But you're getting right, and like it's just him being funny. It's just him being like his jocular self. But then you kind of now start to see a trend, right, in that sense, or a pattern of behavior, and you're like, I don't know.
And and we were warned about this during the marriage counseling. When going through marriage counseling, the pastor that counseled us, asked about families and different ways of doing things. And at the time, I was quite shocked. I was like, as in, I didn't court the family. I just came here to pick somebody and I'm off. And at the time she was saying, no, it's the two families that are coming together. And in some ways, as in African context and culture, that's important because that provides a support. Except that when that support now becomes obstructive, hindering the growth of the young couple, relationship, that now becomes a challenge, and it's hard to draw a line.
Yeah.
We were talking about that being so far away here in America, it's easier to be able to say, okay, I'm going to, it's easier to say, I'm going to say, oh, you stay this place while I stay here. Whereas, but if we were back home, we're not sure if the marriage
would have stood the test.
Yes, and that's honestly. So it's a challenge, to say, how do you respectfully say thanks, but no thanks. Laughing here, but
that's an insult to the older person, right? Like I'm giving you something and you're saying, no, right? So it was just something that, again, when people say you see things and you just wave it off. But then when you get married, right, you realize, oh, this thing I saw wasn't just a fluke, right, or a flash in the pan. So I guess for me, and I tell about this in the book, I write a little bit about it more, but it was during the, planning of the wedding, and here I am doing like Brides, American Brides magazine, trying to plan a nice wedding. And again, I guess it's culture, because in my mind I had the idea that, okay, the bride plans the wedding and the groom, gets to participate, but mostly like, the wedding is the brides. But then I remember there were all these things of, the family wants to know how much is this costing, who brought what, who didn't bring what, like essentially, yes, essentially wanting to be like involved in every single detail of the thing. And I remember at the time I was like, no, but it wasn't a no of like no, but it was just, to me, I was like, everything is kind of being taken care of. Like I have very capable friends, everyone is kind of doing what they need to do. And it was a very simple wedding, right? There was not much fanfare. Everything was kind of being taken care of. So that was the truth on paper, right? But then I look back and I say, in terms of wisdom, right, perhaps it could have been like, give more information, even if there was nothing that the other party could have done. But you say, okay, here's the information, here's this, here's that. Kind of make everyone feel like they're part of the big day, right? Which is kind of this idea of the families are getting together, However, I didn't grow up like that. In my family, you get help when you ask for it. Nobody keeps asking you, do you need help? Do you need help, right?
And in my family, you get help when you don't ask for it, because everybody's going to come and ask you, how can I help?
What's going on? Yeah. So you can see that there was already that difference, right? But it wasn't a big deal. It kind of come. But like I said, looking back now, I'm like, for wisdom's sake, right? You could have done certain things differently, So, but the other side of that I keep thinking about now, right? The older that I get is, that was just one incident that could have been better handled. But I also think about a situation where, you don't want to twist yourself into a pretzel, right? To be what's the word? To be a beloved member of this new family in that sense. And so I always think about that idea of, would I hope I'm not doing things that are against my own, not beliefs or anything, but my person, right? Like where you self-sacrifice to the point of nothing because you want, members of your new family to be happy with you, and then you kind of change into another version of yourself. And so it's like, where's the balance, there?
I mean, balance being the key word, right? Because some might say, okay, this is your new family. I mean, you want to make a good impression.
Yeah.
So the idea is that wanting to make a good impression, that is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, what I think you're saying is that making this good impression by trying to make a good impression to the sacrifice of what you know is good or what you know is wrong. No. Might be an issue. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, that's not what I'm trying to say.
So please clarify what you're trying to say, because that's what I thought you were trying to say.
I'm trying to say making a good impression where you have the evidence that it will not make a difference, right? So then why are you doing that if it's not also a part of people pleasing? You know what I mean? Which, confession time, right? I used to be that person. I'm like, I want people to like me. So you go all out, you cook the 5-course meal, do this, do that, generally do things, and you're making all the sacrifices, right? And the other people are not even aware. And even when they're aware, right, it's almost like, okay, but I didn't ask you to do all that. And, obviously, or ascribing other kinds of meaning to your work or to your sacrifice, right, in that sense. So there's always a dissonance there.
Again, context too. Again, I mean, when you just come into the family, right? There has to be an acclimation period, a time frame whereby okay, I will do this and see is it appreciated, is not appreciated, and then what I'm asking, when is the time frame? What is the time frame? Because
there's no time frame. There's no time frame. The reason I'm saying there's no time frame is, how long do you want to do that transactional thing? There shouldn't even be the concept of a transaction. That's what I'm saying.
True.
There should not be. There should just be, this person is now a part of our family. Or that person is now a part of our family.
Should. But culturally, isn't there one?
Culturally, how do you mean?
As in, there's an expectation.
Of what?
Oh, the young bride. I mean, Tales by Moonlight.
In which culture though?
Every culture.
I don't think so. I disagree.
Okay. Are we talking African culture or talking American culture now?
Even the African culture.
In the African culture, there's an expectation that the young bride, the new bride comes in. Please educate me now, because it is an expectation that, this young bride, you want to come in. We marry our wife. We married a good wife. What does all that come from?
So when you say, the young bride and expectation, right? Are you talking about a collectivist society where that bride comes into a multi-extended family?
No, does that still happen?
But that's what I'm saying. So now, if you are in a more, postmodern society where you have your own home, your own social unit, you are trying to build, that's my concept of interference. Because at what point does that continuous transaction of making a good impression come in, right? Except it was a flash in the pan engagement. Isn't the whole purpose of, at least from an African culture, right? Isn't the whole purpose of engagement and, trying to get to know each other better? That's also part of the family, getting to know that
so that's
person.
that whole dating sequence.
Yeah, that's supposed to be, except you didn't have a long dating period, right? For many people that could be the case. But there's no reason why after the marriage you're expecting something
to change.
Yeah, something like viscerally different from maybe what you had seen before, right? However, I say that with a hypothetical stance, because that's usually what happens. People get married and expect that now you are married. It's a different status. It's a different, it's a different dynamic, right?
Because
the dynamic
before you were dating, and now.
But here's the thing: there are two dynamics: the dynamic of ownership versus the dynamic of inclusion. Those are two different approaches to how you take in the new bride, right? Because ownership means you have to please us, right? We paid the bride price and all of this. But inclusion means, you are so precious. You are being added to our family, right? As a new member of our family. And we're going to, treat you like the precious addition that you are, right? So those are two different frames of looking at things. And so the question now becomes, right, for the woman, how do you handle it, right? If you are sensing that this is not the latter, where this is not a place of, full inclusion, right? Unconditional inclusion. So then that, that kind of becomes something to think about, right? But that was just what I was saying of, if you're in that situation, do you then continue to do the people pleasing just so you can be included or not included, right? Recognizing that you enter to form your own social unit. You're not trying to, become an appendage, right, in the family that already existed before you came. Your goal ideally should be to build your own new family unit. Obviously taking the good things from each family that of origin.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask. Because when you say build your own, you mean as in the union, as in of you.
Yeah, of you and your husband. Yeah, in new units of now raising children.
To answer that first question,
children come.
The people pleasing doesn't work. Never works in the long run. I mean, if you realize that that's what you're doing, it's best to stop, because in the end, the people won't be pleased, and you won't be pleased with yourself either. If it's people pleasing, if that's your temperament, that's different. That's different. But then the question of limits, certain limits, between you and your spouse is important. That way you have a unified front with the extended family members, and I think it's important to point out that the way you defend your spouse before,
the way you present them,
well, that's one.
Or the way you take them, that's the way your family will take them.
I mean, I'm using defense in a sense where somebody makes a statement that you don't agree with, and your spouse is not there to say something. No, that's not how it happened.
And both parties having a growth mindset. Wrapping it up is this pragmatic thing of realizing that interference will come.
Not if.
Yes, it will come. And so then what are the things that one needs to do then in that regard?
Communicate among the spouses.
Yeah.
And then with a unified front, the family member that has the interfering party coming in should handle it the way their family typically handles conflicts. maybe mix things up every now and then, just in case.
I don't know about that, but you heard me say the two words I have: fix it. Fix it. Yeah.
But yeah, interference will come.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I think that a lot of times it can be viewed as a downer, but it can also be viewed as a learning process, a growth, the growth mindset you're talking about, a growth opportunity, you know, because the things that, what's that thing that they say, that you are intimate with the people you pray with, the person you pray to, and the people you pray for, causing the problem.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's one thing I guess that we haven't like really touched upon, but because we are persons of faith, right, before you have critical conversations, you have to pray. No joke. You have to pray that the soil will be open, right, that the person will hear the words that you have to say, they'll be receptive and all that. So call it what you may, but that's the strategy that we use.
So that's what we have for you this week. Still more to tackle on this, but at least for starters, that's a good way to start to nip these things in the bud.
And so remember, resistance is not futile. Like, you can stand your ground, right? But not stand your ground of harming people, because in stand your ground means a different thing in the country we're currently living in. That's true. But the idea is, you know, you can guard against the interference from outside, you know, with a united front. Pillbox.
So we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And bye from the couch.
Bye.